So the argument that I want to make here is that the internet is winning. The internet is going to take over and own every single industry out there. So every transaction where we are recording some kind of transfer of value or economy or wealth in any way, shape or form, product or information flow is going to happen via the internet. And blockchain is going to be the vehicle that allows the internet to do that. It's going to be the architecture. So what I want to get into in this video is I want to talk about the evolution of blockchain. How do I see blockchain taking over? When will that adoption really happen? And so the first thing we need to go back and look at is the dot-com bubble, because with the dot-com bubble, you can see that the explosion and the crash dwarfs the 9/11 crash and the credit crunch crash as well. And this is looking at the NASDAQ. So we're including stocks in here like Google, Apple, Facebook, etc. And so what happened with the dot-com is we had a lot of these new companies coming out, these new technologies, very similar to crypto, coming out, and people didn't know how to value them. And there was this fear of missing out. People were, just rushing in to buy these stocks, these websites, to buy the internet, which people didn't even know the difference back then between internet and website. And when I say people, I mean general knowledge. And so it became very exciting. It was almost as though money was raining from the sky. And this is exactly what we saw happen in December 2017 with crypto. What is going to drive cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies to start really gaining adoption? Because it's the adoption of these technologies, just like it's the adoption and the creation of the new internet technologies like Google, Facebook, etc., that really took off. It's the same here in cryptocurrency. We're going to see new, more improved, advanced problem-solving cryptos coming out, and some of the existing infrastructures will disappear, but also some of the existing infrastructures will stay because they're paving the way. They've solved the problem, and they're already gaining a lot of network connections. But nonetheless, what is going to drive the adoption? Now, adoption is really driven, in my opinion, by attention. So what drives attention? And my belief in this is certainty. People need to have certainty that something is working, that is going to make their cash bag bigger. And this brings me to talk about what I call the future evolution of blockchain. And I really see this happening in 4 main stages over the next 30 years. So yes, I think, blockchain really being fully adopted, being the new architecture of the internet, etc. This is a 30+ year journey, and so we need to be prepared for that. But that's not to say we can't make money in this industry today, and it can't be useful today. We are already seeing plenty of technologies becoming adopted. Bitcoin is one of those technologies. Ethereum is one of those technologies. There are technologies out there that allow you to use your browser space and to rent that out to other people so that they can use your computer for power, and you get paid for that. These actually exist today. So it's these cash generating technologies. And by the way, if you're interested to know specifically what I just referenced there, I'll send you the name of that particular blockchain technology so you can take part in that. But it really, between now and the next 5 years, I really see these being the businesses that drive more adoption in blockchain. So this really means that any businesses coming out saying we're going to disrupt entire industries, they're a long way off. The belief and the certainty isn't there yet. So I believe that those businesses really right now, they might pave the way in terms of coding, but I don't think they're really going to gain that much adoption at this point, unless they have fundamentally tens of millions of dollars behind them for promotion. However, the businesses that solve a real world problem using the technology because it couldn't be solved before, these are the ones that are going to continue gaining traction and adoption. And we're already seeing these. I'm speaking with these businesses all the time. They are out there. And so this market is growing. This technology is growing. So that's the next 0 to 5 years. In the next 5 to 10 years, when I think about businesses from a commercial sense, supply chain and recording transactions on the blockchain for any supply chain movements solves a lot of problems. It's immutable. You cannot change the record. And so this actually offers a number of advantages to the supply chain industry. I think the trucking industry, the supply chain industry, these are 2 of the first big commercial industries that are really going to adopt this technology. And so when big corporations deploy these technologies, at first they'll be outsourced and then they'll be brought in-house. But when they deploy these technologies, they're going to make their cash bag bigger. They're going to be able to do things cheaper, faster, better. They're going to have more credibility and security around those transactions. That's going to give them a competitive advantage. You're going to see that in their earnings per share figure, in the announcement in the markets, and their competitors are going to have to start investing in and using that technology as well and growing that. Then there's also privacy. So George Gilder talks about this. Privacy is a big deal. We saw the scandal recently with Facebook, etc. People don't own their data. You don't own your data, somebody else does. But with the blockchain on the infrastructure 2.0, or what I call the new architecture of the internet, you would actually own your data, and privacy is actually built into that system. And there are blockchain technologies out there already that are designed to do this. They are ready and they are poised for adoption. So I really see the consumer-driven need for privacy also being a big proponent for blockchain to grow in the next 5 to 10 years. So for the next 10 to 20 years, I really see artificial narrow intelligence being a big proponent and a big factor for driving the credibility and trust and certainty around these blockchain technologies. You see, right now, to authenticate data or transactions on the blockchain, we're using systems like proof of work, and I'll go into those in a separate video. But you know, these are very, very power hungry systems. What if we could use artificial narrow intelligence to actually regulate and authenticate blockchain transactions at lower cost, cheaper, faster, better than any human could? We could even supply them with the computing power. See, the way artificial narrow intelligence works is you give it one specific task to learn, and it uses machine learning and deep learning to get very good at that task. And once it becomes very good at that task, it excels compared to humans. It will do it better than any human will do it. For example, we now have artificial intelligence, narrow intelligence, which is given one specific thing. That's why we call it narrow intelligence, to play poker, and it's beat the world champions in poker over and over again. It's still unbeatable. It's the same with the game Dota. It's the same with the game Go. Now, what happens when we take this artificial narrow intelligence, we've given it years of learning on how to regulate and reward itself for authenticating blockchain transactions. Now we know that we have an ANI that can do it better than any human, and a lot of trust gets built. So now we have these cryptocurrencies out there, some of which will actually be new generation currencies. They will not hold the same problems that the solutions out there today hold. So I'm talking about Bitcoin, which is in a way used as a currency already, Dash, digital cash, and Zcash, etc. There are technologies already being used as currencies today. In fact, Dash has around 500 merchants the last time I checked. But I'm talking in 20 to 30 years time now, where we see an economic collapse. We can see that the central banks are messing consumers around. The Federal Reserve isn't regulating the monetary supply correctly. There's too much quantitative easing. People have lost faith and belief in the fiat currency system as we know it today. People are naturally going to gravitate to what they have trust and belief in. And the general consumer, your everyday person, is going to understand blockchain just like they understand how the internet benefits them today. And so naturally they're going to move to a blockchain technology. It will be an internet 2.0 architecture that actually runs the currency and the global economy. So I actually see this happening in between 30 to 40 years. That would be my estimate. Because we have the trust and belief in this new technology, we will move to it. The reality is there are technologies that exist today we could move to, but really the trust and certainty isn't really there yet for first and second world countries to really adopt those fully. So this is how I see the future evolution of blockchain happening. These are what I would call the drivers of blockchain evolving. It's a very interesting topic for me. I could talk about this all day. If you found it interesting too, definitely post a comment, send me a message. I'd love to talk about it. Until the next video, take care and talk soon.